Hello, divine, beautiful souls. This is Energy Speaks podcast with your host, Catriel. We have a very special guest here tonight. It is my brother, J-Mo. How are you doing tonight?
Pretty good. So, pretty much a little bit of background. We were just talking about podcasting and why is it that people have a lot of different apprehensions between. Let me see if I can turn on my camera here. Do you see me?
I did. Now I do.
Okay, so perfect. In a nutshell, we were just talking about podcasts and why is it that people have a lot of different apprehensions between wanting and not wanting to be a part of something like this. And I just opened up to Catrell about some of my own qualms and apprehensions because he just wasn't getting a good, clear read on. He's like, hey, bro, am I not wording my messages here correctly? And I'm like, no, man, it just might be the fact that people are fairly insecure when it comes to putting themselves out there and whatever it is that they're going through, maybe not finding it something that's worth of value and sharing with the world. And again, just being vulnerable with whatever it is. And then on the flip side, just maybe thinking that it might not be relatable and might be actually somewhat abrasive to whoever might actually see it. And I know that was a point of contention for myself initially when you asked me to do a podcast with you about, I don't know, a year back. And what I shared with you is right now it might be a little bit too much concentrated, unfiltered perspectives that may not be beneficial to people. And ultimately, I want to and strive to be a positive force. And if I'm going to talk about things, at least have them be constructive and uplifting and beneficial people versus just hellfire and brimstone. And it's like, okay, we got enough of people in the world doing all of that. So, yeah. So that's where we started out and basically figured we'd just jump on it and see what comes out of this and just literally shoot the shit as we usually do, except this time it's recorded.
Let me explain what my response was to his. So I said, my point in regards to podcasts and just Energy Speaks podcasts is literally every single person is valuable. They are of value. And when they can see that in themselves, they can share that beautiful, authentic, raw self with the world. And it's like, for me, I made a commitment when I started doing Energy Speaks podcast. I made a commitment that one, anyone is on can come on this podcast, and number two, I would not edit. Like, I am not allowed to edit my podcasts, and I speak from my heart and my soul, and that is it. And so it's interesting because from my perspective, it is my goal to hold the sacred space, and that our conversation is a sacred conversation, whatever comes up.
Mm-hmm. So some of the things that I was going to actually touch base with you about was,
Yeah.
so, when it comes to me, I love everything mystical, magical, metaphysical, metaphorical, what have you. And, well, obviously I'm going to leave out a lot. I can give you the deets later, the specifics, because, not everybody likes having their stuff out there.
Yeah.
But all in all, as I told you, I was doing a little bit of traveling, and it's a similar theme. And I'm going to tie all of this in. You know how I started out very abstract, and then eventually everything just kind of clicks in. So it's been that whole thing that we've been doing, and a lot of people have been doing, especially those that are focused on doing the work and integrating themselves and just becoming a better version of themselves on all the different levels as best they can. And that takes a certain level of honesty and self accountability. And, some people, they can find me fairly disagreeable. And, it's like even family members, honestly. And it's like, oh, wait, this and that. It's like, no, I am the way that I am. And if you're functioning on my bandwidth, you're not going to, and that's the trick, right? Because nobody ever is. We all have our own specific bandwidths. But that, I mean, if you're just forthcoming and mindful and honest and transparent and are willing to pause before responding to things, you're gonna reassess and check yourself and see that there really is nothing to throw a fit about. And I kind of brought you into an example. It's like, hell, man, and a couple other people. It's like these people, I never have these bouts with. It's like I've known you for what, 2 years plus, and we've never had an argument or anything really where it was supercharged or negative. There was that one thing initially when we didn't even know each other, and there was just some static and miscommunication from he said, she said, and you're like, da da da,
It started off with an argument or one-sided argument.
Right. And I just knew you kind of like from passing by, and I'm like, man, I fucking love that dude. Like, he's just such an immaculate, beautiful, brilliant, amazing fucking soul. I'm like, I'm sure he's got his reasons, and I figured, it's like, it is what it is. And I'm like, hell, man, down the line, if we get to talk, we'll get to talk. And I'm not here to point fingers or whatever the case is. But anyway, then after that, it was just fucking smooth sailing, and we'd talk about pretty much anything and everything that you can fucking conceive of. And we don't agree on, everything, as most people don't. But the point is about keeping an open mind. And that whole expression comes to mind. A very popular meme: if you don't heal what hurt you, you're gonna bleed on everybody else that had nothing to do with it. And that's pretty much one of those things. So the last vacay, the part of the travel, I got to see a little bit of again the duplicitous nature of and just the very human elements of relating, personal relating. And I grew from it. And all I can say is something that Spirit dropped into my heart was that everything is medicine. And it wasn't like negative experience in my perspective. It was just everybody has their own perspectives, and sometimes they can be hurtful, and that's fine, you know. But point to all of that is it kind of tied into that whole thing of one of those adages from that you hear from 80, 90-year-olds, right? And it goes to say that 90% of your happiness or sadness comes from your choice of who you choose to be your most intimate partner, right? And it's like I see it being very, very frivolous. And right now I just started a whole corporate gig, and I'm around a lot of different very characters. So of course I filter what I say, how I say, because it's like it's a step-up process as we all experience in life, whether it be spirituality, religion, learning the new job, whatever the case is. And if you go from step 1 to step 10, people will just go, okay, you're totally fucking nuts. And Going back to your thing where you had that similar experience that you mentioned, which was talking to new friend, and the friend was telling you, hey, I've lost a lot of friends because I'll talk about these things, and they just weren't on that, level of understanding whatever the case is, and you responded back with, "This is a safe space, motherfucker. I ride unicorns." Right?
Yep.
Yeah. And but yeah, man. So it's one of those things where I've always been a big student of just human nature and consciousness, and that's something that really spoke to me, and I would say is my passion, and that's what really fascinated me the most. Like a lot of people will love to do certain aspects of spirituality, whether it be grid working, writing, just the stuff that you see in Harry Potter, the whole nine. And that stuff, it's like, and never really had that pull for me. For me, it's always been just a study of consciousness.
Mm.
And it can get a little annoying to a lot of people because you notice a lot of things and you call out a lot of things, and nothing, you notice, and we all are a lot more pers- uh, perceptive than we give ourselves credit for. And it's all that sub communication. So, of course, when somebody's a mirror, by default, you're going to make people aware of themselves again, or remind them of parts of themselves that they typically would much rather not look at and ignore. Um, so that can create a little bit of a dissonance. The point being is, going back to that 9-year-old expression, it kind of comes down to a whole lot of us, honestly. The way that I see a lot of the spiritual community is just like the merry bunch, and everybody's just, doing their own thing, and they're just these cosmic, beautiful fucking oddballs, and it's beautiful. Like, truly, they're unique, they're individuals. That's what we're supposed to be. We're not supposed to be copy paste copies of what society finds acceptable, or the matrix, or whatever you want to call it. And at the same time, I just see how we cherry pick everything, mostly, honestly. And for me, it's always been about, okay, look, at least I'm going to be real with myself. I recently quit smoking, and up to that point, I never once said, "Hey, this is fucking great for me." I fucking this is the shit. This is the jam. I just said I fucking like it. I enjoy it. I know it's fucking horrible. It gives people lung cancer. It makes your 5-mile run turn into a no-mile run. I mean, and that's just, wait until you get older as a man. It has a whole lot of other detrimental, not so much benefits. So the thing is, it's the heavier, realer things in life that I focused on. So whether it be the diet, the spiritual, the physical, and tying it back into the most important thing that we can ever do is choosing who to really share our energy with, especially the most intimate parts of it. Most of us are pretty much like a free-for-all buffet, and something that I shared with my leader at work. He's actually, as I mentioned to you, also a Scorpio, and he's like pretty much master level professional, very well developed businessman. You know, so I'm learning a ton from him. But point being is, he's like one of the few people that I can actually talk to on a level about a lot of things. And I, told him just actually yesterday, I'm like, okay, with you, I filter a lot less, but obviously I filter with most people, most things. The point being is, there's, again, calling yourself out on things. There's a lot of distractions that can be had anywhere that you go, things that will be very enjoyable, like short-term ice cream, what have you, but that are just horrible for your soul. And I've had that experience like on a repeat. And I think we all do in a lot of regards, especially when it comes to that. Relationships
Yeah.
are literally what life is, and especially the intimate ones.
Yeah.
And I think we talked about this to finer points, and maybe you can tell me a little bit more about your perspective on this. But
Okay.
essentially, uh, the further along I've gone within my own experience, like right now, my body, literally my spirit, just does not have the fucking tolerance. Like I
Mm.
just physically, like, I was I was stepping away from entangling physically for a good while, and I do mean like a really good while. And pretty much, after a set point, I met somebody, and um, a lot of boxes were checked. So I'm just like, okay, uh, I'm gonna go ahead and explore this. So I did, but at the same time, like literally, it does have a fucking toll, and it took me about a month to bounce back to my baseline that I was used to.
Mm.
And it's like people don't really understand that, especially if you're trying to build something, go somewhere in your life. Um, Concentrating and how you utilize that energy and your focus and your attention. Literally, all of our power is in our focus and our attention. And it's like we all know the things, the right things, and if we don't know, if you want to know, then we can find out what they are to do them. But it's about having the willpower to fucking execute. And it's been a struggle. Like I'm not just saying like, oh fuck, like I'm fucking doing all of it. It's just been slow, steady implementation, a little bit yo-yoing here and there. And then I'm
Yeah.
like, oh well, fuck, a year just went by. Let me reassess and firm up, shore up, get a little bit more laser focus because our focus is literally all the power that we have. And that's why I'm like, fucking hey, when I check my screen time and I look at how much time I fucking spent scrolling on fucking Facebook, whatever that rabbit hole is. It's crazy,
Yeah.
man. And people talk about it all the time. And yet everybody's on there talking about it all the time, about how they're spending all their time on Facebook, you know? So I'm just like, hey, man,
What a catch
smoke,
22.
smoking is not the only addiction, right? But it's all about what you want to do in your life, and that's the other understanding just as well. It's like a lot of people, most people are just very content being discontent, and or not even that, just being content living their life the way that they want to live, like literally. It's perfect. They couldn't conceive of, and even if they did and they do conceive of a different way, doesn't mean that that's what they actually want to do or put in the effort. And that's fine too, but at the same time, it's like I guess the whole point to all of that was just to say that, and I'll highlight it with this example. There was this gentleman that ended up adding me on Facebook a while back, and he's this royal gentleman. He's like, I don't know, a pickup artist or a life coach, something like that. He's more of a life coach, honestly, not a pickup artist, but his spiel is, like, hey, I'm living the life. I got all the ladies, and I'm going to teach you how to have the ladies and have the life that you want, a royal life. And he ended up kind of interacting with me, just messaging me randomly a little bit, and then shortly after, just kind of going a little bit nuclear on the his posts, and it was something along the lines of like, "Oh, you enlightened fucks, you just sit on all this information and share it, blah blah blah," and ultimately, I just kind of responded really quick with, in the age of information, ignorance is literally a choice, and there's a difference between having access to information, consuming it, and then actually understanding it. And if you actually want something, again, you can just add more people to your stream. There's literally, my stream is bursting with pretty much anything and everything you think of, from metaphysics, spirituality, to mechanics, to science, to anything here and in between, right? And then maybe like 2 weeks later, I go ahead and decide just to share something that has been generously shared with me that I've benefited from. Some of my favorite channels that certain soul family members have shared with me over the course of the years. And guess what? As usual, which is literally usually what happens with most people, when you share like really epic shit with them, they fucking leave it on red. And I'm like, and mind you, we've had dialogue up to this point, and back and forth, all of that. And but I guess he knew better than to try to pitch me, because I'm just like, I'll say that, bro. Like, I'm good. But either which way, it's like, you just cried about this thing. I just literally hit all the bullet points of what you were crying about, what you wanted in your life, information wise, and you leave it on red. So, point being is, um, most of us know what we need to change. We just don't want to change it. And we'd much rather just indulge in the temporary pleasure and damn the consequences and anybody else that highlights it for us. And it's just a whole lot of hypocrisy, brother. And
Yeah, it's like,
yeah.
I've been sitting back kind of like feeling into this. You spoke about intimate partners and where are we in our life and all these different things. And, I've been thinking about the theme of intimate partners a lot lately. What does that look like for me? And like, also, where's the balance of like, how am I individual? How do I maintain my individuality? Because I think the key, like, you can't choose the moment that you meet the right person. You don't have control over that, but you do have control over you being the best person you can be. And ideally, it would be great to be as a pure soul as you can, the most balanced being, so that you can attract that being that you really want in your life. And still, there's an integration period, because you still have a whole nother force of nature is literally coming into your orbital field. And it's like, oh, okay. So how do we like find balance together? How do we navigate? And that's like, we get these test subjects. I feel like I'm a scientist right now. We get these test subjects that we call friends, and like, we can have these intimate conversations like we're having right now, and they're like, okay, this is kind of the energies you like to vibe with. This is other. Oh wait, over there, not so much. You know what I mean? And I was thinking about like all of this past week, and last night I was at the Shabbat dinner table, and I had a beautiful host invite me over, and we ended up, of course, talking about like finding the right woman and everything like that. And I will say, my hosts, like, they found each other later in life, and it was such a beautiful like story, and how they came together, and they gave me a blessing at the table, like that I would be able to find um my divine soulmate, as a romantic partner. And I'm just like sitting there like, yes, yes, amen. And I'm feeling through that, and of course, like, give me a little truth serum, put food in front of my plate, and I'll freaking start talking, right? and I get a little bit deeper into like who I am, because when you come to a Shabbat table, and you have new friends and everything, um, you don't know everything about that person. It's like your first like date essentially, right? And you get to know someone, and then I start to go into more deeper details, like because like essentially, at least in Israel, everybody likes to set you up. They want you to get married. They want you to have little children.
That's a good kind of a setup. Jews just do it better.
And I'm
Italians, not so
thinking,
much.
I love it. But what's funny? In my life, I've never, ever been in a place where I like am normal. Okay?
Mhm.
I'm a unicorn. like, like I don't know how else to explain it, because it's a little bit different for myself. At least that's how I view it. And maybe that's just the perception of myself. I don't know. Like if somebody listens to this, and because me, I got no filter. I'm just gonna speak my heart's content on here. Let me know if I'm feeling nutso the way I'm feeling. But I was born intersex. That kind of puts a little bit of strain on relationship stuff, at least from my perspective, because I don't know how to handle it. So what do you do with that? Like, what conversation do you have first? You have the conversation of getting to know the person, then spilling the beans? You spill the beans and then bye-bye. That's from my perspective, at least. But, the point is I'm trying to be as comfortable as I can with myself, because if I can't be comfortable with myself, I might as well like throw the idea of partnership out the fucking window. That's my 2 cents. Oh
Well,
man.
I'll give you this, bro. I mean, anybody that's actually spent time with you, myself included, the synergy is contagious, and I've always felt completely at ease and very, very comfortable with you, more so than um, like the next 99% of people I've ever met in my life. And it comes more not just from you accepting yourself, but also just the perspective that you have on life, and that being very pure and loving, and you see world through very loving and kind eyes. And it's like, hell, that time we went camping, and it was a incredible fucking beautiful immersive experience for me, and I'm sure yourself as well. And there you are, across the fire, you're just doing you, hanging out, kicking back, relaxing. And I'm just like, wow, this man. The ancestors might be looking at me a little bit like this, but this man, he's totally nonchalant, does not give a fuck, he just totally chill.
And I felt so comfortable there.
Yeah, yeah.
But you know what? I feel it was because, one thing that we do together is we set sacred space together. And we really did that night, you know? And when you can do that with another person, I think that's the fucking key. Is like trusting each other 1000%. And that's like, I really feel like that's the key, is trusting each other 1000%, honesty, and communication. When we have
Mhm.
those ingredients, like things get yummy.
Mhm. So here's the thing, right? Life is super fucking simple, bro. Like, honest to God. And a lot of us, we love to fucking overthink. earlier today, I popped into the office and I spent a couple hours, working there. And I'm talking to this guy there, and he's this older gentleman. He's special ops prior Vietnam, like fucking 28 tours.
Wow.
Dude, the man's like, he's killing it at work, but like, they didn't start there, you know? So he's had a very colorful past. And he was telling me about his 20-year relationship, essentially, and he's very open about it, you know? And, basically he goes, it took me 20 years to figure out, I was married to a freaking narcissist, you know?
Yeah.
And, he's like, right now I get all these. So right now he's going through some court stuff and he's educating himself. So he's like, right now I get all these notifications on YouTube about how to spot a narcissist and, this and that, and I'm just like, bro, you don't really have to, do any of that. It's like very simple in life. Remember that there's our head leader in the office there, and he doesn't like to be called a boss. He's like, I hate bosses. I'm a leader, and he really and truly is, man. Uh, Incredible guy. So I'm like, remember how you felt when you just met that guy? The gut instinct, that same gut instinct that probably was there with you throughout all of those tours, right? You knew on the innate level how it felt and what it was about. But most of us, we just like put those rosy colored glasses on. It's like, and not that, let's say, per se, his wife is, let's say, a bad person. Let's not even say that, right? Let's just say they're very incompatible, okay? But ultimately, it comes down to most of us would much rather be with somebody that we're not compatible with than be actually alone, okay? And or indulge into our grosser senses. And that was part of the finishing the full loop when I was talking to my immediate, team lead. I was just like, hey, bro, you got to put me back where I was because right now my screens, he has these two huge monitors, like 28 inches each, and they're connected. So he has a big fucking wall right in front of him. So you can't see nothing in front of him. And, there's these, I think I might have mentioned them to you a little bit. There's a lot of distractions in front of me. And I'm just like, can we just leave like, I appreciate, but at the same time, there's nothing being left to the imagination right now. Like that's a whole lot of distraction. I need to go back facing the wall so I can focus fully on myself and the work that I'm doing. And mind you,
Yeah.
it's bringing a little bit of that esoteric wisdom, the hermetic seals, right? How
Yeah.
to seal jar hermetically so nothing gets out. Same thing comes with us and our emotions, thoughts, feelings, all of that. So that, going off the topic a little bit here, dovetailing, but it's like you can have all these spiritual teachers and gurus and people that invent, all these different practices, yogas, what have you. And then you find out, oh, doing this, doing that, blah, blah. All right, cool. Because they're not hermetically sealed and they're not fully integrated. And essentially, going back to the whole focus thing, which is really the most important thing to me, along with honestly just overall evolution, integration, and the wholesomeness of whatever it is that I'm specifically aiming for, which is to be more like an angelic, beautiful being like yourself. So, um, and like, it is what it is, bro. Like, one of the reasons that I truly love your soul and your essence, you're just one of a kind, bar none. But so it's like when we're um, you know, lust can be a lot of different things as we discussed. It can be the physical, it can be lust of gluttony, and down the list of the seven mortal sins, right? But all of which basically translate and reiterate into our internal infrastructures, astral structures, and all of that. And they're going to be the skyscrapers that are going to be drawing the most of the power source of our being, of our energy circuitry, and our essence, our power core. It's like, holy fuck, why am I tired? I'm exercising. I'm eating right. I'm fucking meditating. I'm doing these cleanses. Feeding myself probiotics. And, still, like, what in the absolute, okay, you might be leaking energy in a whole lot of different ways, and the analogy that
Yeah.
was provided was like that scene when Neo wakes up in the Matrix and there's just a bunch of tubes coming out of him and he's being siphoned. He's like half dead. Well, that's literally what we're doing with our attention, right? Because it's
Yeah.
being siphoned in all these different directions. But going back to the main thing that we're talking about, which is relationships, and how we choose to settle, basically, and there's nothing wrong with settling either, mind you. Like, honest to God, if a lot of people didn't settle, a lot of people wouldn't be in a relationship. And it's like, be in a relationship and have some kind of experience versus don't settle, oh, Hermetica, and have a lonesome experience, fuck it. Go
No,
ahead,
I
you were
get
gonna
what
say
you're
something?
saying, bro. Yeah, I know. Like you pinged me on something, and then I was like, oh. You know,
What you got?
it's interesting because I felt like so this past couple weeks has been a bit difficult for me. I like I told you earlier, I came out of prophecy class, hit my head in the bathroom on a sink, got a concussion, and, and then I was like, crap, I am Kaputski. That's how I felt. I literally just like, bam, energetically down, wounded. And I'm like, I just
Susie?
hit my head on a fucking
Gotta go,
sink.
baby.
What the fudge? You know what I mean? And so what epiphany came out of that after going to see a doctor, going to see my chiropractor, upper cervical care, who will appear on Energy Speaks podcast at some point soon. She does energy work. I did these different therapies with color lights and everything, and something shifted. Like, what the?
Bro, my cat just jumped in my lap. I'm just like, I've been trying to kick her out, and the nails came in, and I'm like, I'm wearing sweats. That is painful. She's not going anywhere.
That is so funny. But yeah,
Okay.
like it was so interesting because I came to this epiphany while talking to a friend. Like it was somewhere within me, but when someone can hold the sacred space to get out of your head and speak out your fears, all of that, then like that's where the magic is. And so I started to speak out like, I don't have time for myself. I can't take care of myself properly. Like I'm speaking my needs out. And then I came up with a practical solution to be able to find equilibrium. And I feel like, so I study at the conservative yeshiva and I love it. Oh my gosh, the amount of classes, the depths we go into, the beauty that we explore within these intellectual realms is freaking fabulous. But if you're always stimulating, penetrating, that muscle, I know. It was on purpose. When you're always doing that and you're only receiving, like, you see this? This is an energetic map of flow, right? And if you're only working on this side, how are you, like, you're completely imbalanced, literally. So what I realized is, you see here we have chesed, okay? I was bringing everything into Gevurah, like I was receiving all of this stuff, right? But I couldn't take any of this out and integrate it, like in here, or put anything out. I wasn't being able to be balanced. And when you can notify yourself, like, hey, bro, you are out of alignment. And once you've identified that, like what is actually getting you out of alignment, and it doesn't have to be something bad. That's the thing, is like too much of one thing can be harmful if that's not how you're energetically wired. And then we come to this realization.
Okay,
of
let me ask you this, and remember where you're at. I love the flow and the riff. Okay, But do you think there might be a space of actually doubling down where you're weak and actually strengthening that neural pathway or that energetic pathway and making it actually stronger? Otherwise, just leaving it in a basically lethargic state where it's just underdeveloped and understimulated, versus if you just keep applying pressure, just like muscles,
Well,
repetition, breakage, growth, expansion.
well, yes, I get you, but I think we're saying the same thing. The reason I say this is if I'm going hard 24 hours a day, now this is like my second year of going into this, and I'm I'm breaking. My health is going. All of those things. What's one thing that like within building up muscle is you gotta rest the muscle for a moment,
Mhm.
right? And then you go back into it. And
Mhm.
so I'm noticing I need that rest, but I'm not taking the whole thing out, you know?
Mhm.
I'm saying, let's cut back like maybe 5, 6 hours and take that out of my schedule and put it in for me, like in a different area. So I can do this literal thing right here in front of us. I had no time to do this. This is fun for me. I'm okay. I got a question for you.
Mhm.
I made a commitment on season 2 that I would ask each person 2 questions on Energy Speaks podcast.
Mhm.
So the first question is, what is energy to you?
Existence.
Okay,
Look, dude, it's literally everything
I love it. Now, how does energy speak to you?
in ways that I can't share with people.
I love you, bro.
Oh, love you too, brother.
Is there any last like things you'd like to share?
Yeah. Um, Focus while you have time on whatever it is that you want to focus before you realize that you're out of time. Shit. It's a times game, man. You only have so much and then it's game over. But regardless of anything, it's literally just if you fucking enjoyed it and if you're getting what you want out of life, doesn't matter what the fuck anybody thinks or how it looks to anybody else, as long as you're having a good time and it's what you want, then you already fucking won. Whether you're a homeless dude literally living on the beach and you're happy and you're content, you're literally fucking winning a game of life a lot more than a guy that's fucking in Emirate Empires over there driving a Lambo and has a rotation going on. Um, it's all about where you are internally. So to each their own, but staying in integrity with yourself, either which way, that's the name of the game. Because ultimately, one of the spiritual beliefs that really speaks to me is, or just perceptions, is maybe there's not this ultimate God or deity that judges us. Maybe it's us ourselves in retrospect going, okay, maybe I could have done better with whatever it is that I set out to do in my life in general if I had only applied myself and listened to all of that, um, all of those prompts and inputs throughout, especially at the end of the journey. And that's something that I really contemplate now. I'm 33, and that's relatively young. But at the same time, I know for a fact that time only speeds up and you get out of life what you put in. So I'm just looking to put in what I want to get out.
Bro, thank you so much for sharing your soul's truth. Like, and so authentically and raw. I love it. It's just like, means so much to be able to share energy on here with you. And you're always welcome back, of course. And guys, thank you so much for listening, watching. I don't know how this comes out. It's the first one I've done like this. We'll see how it all flows. I love you all, divine, beautiful souls. This is Energy Speaks Podcast with your host, Catriel, and my guest, J Mo. Over and out. Shalom.